Just ran across the stage and pumped my arms, and I'm already out of breath. But James, thank you for joining us. Just before we move on, you did mention the Super Bowl. Are you happy with the outcome?
Super happy with the outcome. I used to live in Seattle for 6 years, so I was like, go Hawks. Or as we say in Seattle, Sox. Seahawks. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, I love that idea of you videoing and getting people who are dressed up as your characters, putting together into a film. I'm curious, for yourself, and I think I may already know the answer, but what is the character that most people of yours dress up as?
Spike. Definitely. Yeah, Spike.
Absolutely.
I was about to say Buffy, but I didn't play that. There are more Buffys than Spike, but that's yeah.
Now, you've had a long and illustrious career, and I know we have lots of Buffy fans here that love the show, and I believe we are nearly upon the 30-year anniversary of Buffy, which is very exciting. But first off, I wanted to chat with you a little bit about the beginnings of your career. I believe that, and by beginning, I mean the fourth grade. Is it true that one of your first roles back in the fourth grade was playing Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh?
That was my very first role ever, yeah.
That's awesome.
I remember taking it very seriously. I really wanted to get the pathos. I really wanted to feel the pain of Eeyore. I was the first method actor in the fourth grade to play Eeyore. I think I was not good. Yeah.
If you get a chance to, Jim Cummings, who is here, the voice of Winnie the Pooh and Tigger, he shared a story earlier about how when he auditioned for Winnie the Pooh, he actually wanted the role of Eeyore first before getting Winnie the Pooh. So if you get a chance to, I think that's
the Hamlet of Winnie the Pooh. Is Eeyore? Yeah.
Now, so even back in elementary school in the fourth grade, did you know that you wanted to be an actor? Was there a moment when in your life, whether as a child or older, that you discovered that you enjoyed acting?
I enjoyed it right away. It was a while before I decided to be an actor. It was 2 full years. So by 6th grade, I decided I wanted to be an actor. It was actually in the summer between my 6th and 7th grade, and there was a small theater company called the Modesto Mini Youth Theater, and we were doing a play called The Me That Nobody Knows, which is actually a really good Broadway musical. It's a bunch of inner city kids that write monologues about their life, and then they had professional Broadway songwriters write songs based on that, and that's the whole show. So we were a bunch of white kids in suburbia playing inner city kids, which is kind of ridiculous, but I was down on the apron singing my little song called Light Sings All Over the World, and I was close to the audience, and it was going well, and we were all enjoying ourselves, and it just occurred to me that the audience and me and the people backstage waiting for their turn, we were all basically in the same room. I mean, there was a curtain and there was a stage to divide us, but it really wasn't a real division. We were all coming together to try together to have a good evening together, and it just really got me. And that's why I'm still doing it, is it's a great way to come into connection with other people. And that's what I love about conventions.
That's really awesome.
I tell people, especially if they're new to a convention, I just say, hey man, look around the floor. There's tens of thousands of people here this weekend, and nobody's on their phone. Right? We're all here to talk with each other, to get to know each other, and that's just it's vanishingly rare, unfortunately. But it's this is one of the best places in the world.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Now, when you were younger and getting into acting, getting to discovering the stage, was acting a thing that your family like knew and supported? Were they like, yes, James, we are here to support you and your acting journey, no matter where it takes?
No. The best thing about it was they didn't really care. They came to see some of my plays, not all of them. But the good thing is they did not dissuade me from it. Like my mother was like, as long as you're out of the house by 18, whatever you want to do, just leave. Yeah, was her thing. So, and actually, a lot of people, when they say they want to be an artist of any kind, their parents understandably go, "Oh no, you're gonna starve to death! Oh God, don't do that! Don't do that!" And it can be translated by the young artist as "you don't believe in me," when in fact it's really just the worry of a good parent, because an artist's life really is about poverty. That's the truth. And I didn't get that. It was just like, whatever you want to do, just go away. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I was able to tell. I have a son who is a phenomenally gifted musician, and he came to me, and out of high school, he said, do you think I should go to college for music or something else? And I said, well, I've already been told by professional musicians that you were good enough to be a professional musician when you were 13, so I don't know if you need college, but I'm going to give you the speech that I got coming out of high school. So when I was coming out of high school, a member of the Berkeley Shakespeare Company sat me down in his house and basically spent the afternoon trying to talk me out of being an actor. And he was saying, kid, if you choose acting or any of the performing arts, you are choosing poverty. Don't kid yourself. You have to, don't go into this thinking that you are going to have money or fame. That will not come. And you have to love acting so much that the grinding poverty is worth it. And he spent hours trying to do it, and he failed. And finally, he kind of slumped his shoulders and goes, oh, well, I guess you belong with us. And I was like, yeah, right. But yeah, so I told my son, I was like, look, if you want to choose music, I support you because I made that decision. But I had my eyes open. But don't look at your dad as thinking that's the normal artistic journey, because basically I just lucked out. I hit triple cherries.
Thank you. And we are glad that you did.
Yeah.
And we are also glad. Yes.
Me too. Yeah.
And we are also glad that the wonderful actor from Berkeley Stage Company, I'm glad that he failed in his speech too.
There was no way he was going to succeed at that point. Yeah. By the time I was 18, there was nobody that was going to hold me back. Yeah.
I'm glad. Now, of course, you have a background and passion for music as well, and I would love to chat with you about that in a little bit. But of course, a lot of our fans here at Fan Expo Vancouver are big fans of your work on Buffy. Now, at the time when you were, can you take us back to when the opportunity to audition for the role came up? Was it an audition, or was it like a role that you were like, hey, we want you for this? How did your opportunity to even potentially become part of Buffy come about?
I was told later that they'd been looking for someone to play Spike for about 3 months and hadn't found anybody. And they were, well, I think when I auditioned the first time, they were 5 days away from having to film Spike. So they were panicking. And I can only think that the word went out, like, scrape the bottom of the barrel. Like, show us people that you never normally would even give this audition to, because we don't know what to do. I had just come to town, and I had done 100 plays, and I had produced 30 plays. I've directed half of them. But they don't care about theater in Hollywood. It's not a thing. And so I was basically, that was the bottom of the barrel. And I remember my agent called me and said, hey, we have this audition. We're so proud we got you an audition for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, I'd seen the movie, and I I went, no, I don't want to do that. And they said, James, it's actually, it's not the movie, it's a TV show, and it's much better. In fact, it's on tonight. Why don't you watch it, and then after the show, you can call us back and tell us if you want to audition. And I watched 15 minutes. I was 15 minutes into the show. I pick up the phone. I'm like, get me on this show! Oh my God, this is amazing. But by the time they cast me, we had 3 days before they filmed me.
Wow.
It was real quick. Yeah.
Wow. That story is fascinating mainly because I think there are, in pop culture, it's hard to, there are many characters that are now hard to envision anyone else playing those roles. And I think that Spike is one of those. It's hard to picture anyone else being Spike. So, thank you for sharing that. That's really awesome.
It was one of those roles that most roles take me a couple of days to kind of figure out, to find myself or the parts of myself that fit with that character, or how to drive that car. You know, how to corner that car and kind of feel comfortable in the driver's seat of the role. But Spike, like right away, from the very beginning, I don't know why, I was just like, oh hell yeah, I know where to go here. You know, yeah.
Was there something in that initial script that you got that allowed you to instantly connect with the role, allowed you to connect with how you wanted to bring that role to life?
Well, yeah, because he was a punk rocker, and I'm a 1970s punk rocker. I remember I saw the Clash in the Cow Palace in 1978, and we destroyed the Cow Palace. They didn't let another band in that venue in San Francisco for like 20 years. Wow. But yeah, I threw a bottle of Jack Daniels at Joe Strummer, and he thanked me for it. Yeah. So as soon as they said that this is the Sid Vicious of the vampire set, I was like, oh, I know where we're going here. Yes, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so it sounded like at the time you had lots of theater experience and a lot of stage experience. Did that experience from your time on doing live theater, did that help you in your initial roles when you were booking film and TV?
Not really. Film acting is a completely different tool set than stage acting, and it took me a while to kind of realize that. I came down to Hollywood so proud. I was fully of the opinion that there were actors and they were doing theater, and there were people who wanted to be stars, and they were down in Los Angeles. And I was so arrogant. I remember for the callback for Buffy, I decided to play head games with the other people auditioning for Spike. So I was doing Shakespearean soliloquies to the wall in the room, thinking that I was really gonna freak out the other, oh, there's a real actor in the room. And I probably just looked psychotic. You know,
which maybe worked for the role.
It worked for me. I thought I was badass, but in fact I was just crazy. And yeah, like I think that if you look at the early parts of Spike, especially the first half of season 2, I'm too big. It's too theatrical, and I think I only got away with it because I was playing a vampire. If I'd have been playing a normal human character, I don't think that they would have killed me off like, oh God, he's horrible, get him out of the way. But it was a flamboyant character, so I think I got away and got enough time to realize that I had a lot to learn.
Right, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Now, speaking of potentially being killed off, is it true that Spike was not always meant to stick around that long on the show?
Yeah, I was basically designed to be Angel's first victim. So season 2, the main story arc of season 2 is Buffy and Angel sleep together. Angel goes evil, kills me, so he can become the new big bad, and then he takes up with Drusilla so that Buffy can get her heart broken. That was the whole idea. So they put me up on this mountaintop of cool, so that Angel would get that cool when he killed me.
And then they didn't kill me.
And I'm just sitting up here on a mountaintop going, oh, hell yeah, man. I'll take that, yeah.
Now, at the time, were you aware that the character wasn't meant to stick around that long? And if you did, and then your character did stick around, was there a moment when you realized that, oh wait, Spike's still here, Spike's not going anywhere? And if you had that moment when you realized that, how did it feel?
No, man, that moment was a long time coming. When I got hired, they said this is going to be between 5 and 10 episodes. If it works out really, really well, it'll be more like 10, but it'll probably be more like 5. And the first day on the set, we did the first scene, and the director was like, oh my God, you're amazing! Oh my God! And all the crew were like, we love this character and everything. And I'm like, oh baby, I'm getting 10. I'm getting 10. It's gonna be okay. And I got 10 in the first season, and I remember again being very arrogant. And at the end of season 2, I'm like, try to do this show without me, baby. And the summer goes. At the summer, and the phone isn't ringing, and nobody calls James, and then I tune in, and I meet Faith, and I'm like, oh no, they don't need me at all, man. Like, she's awesome. And so yeah, so I was just in one episode in season 3, but then the wonderful thing happened is they spun off Angel, and they took Cordelia to Angel. So they needed a character that was going to say, Buffy, you're stupid. Your hair looks horrible. We're all about to die. You know? Because most of the other characters are all like, what do we do now, Buffy? Everyone get behind Buffy. You know? And they needed that character to pop that balloon. And they decided that Spike would be a good fit for that character. And that's why I got to be a series regular in season 4. And then it was this slow dawning realization that wasn't working. That I was good at telling Buffy she was stupid, but to get me in the room to do that in Sunnydale in the daytime, I was always under a smoking blanket. And I was always being lit on fire. And they were like, we can't keep doing this. We don't know how to get you in the room so that you can do that role. And I really thought they were going to kill me off.
Wow.
Yeah. By the time I was in the Hawaiian shirt in Xander's basement, I'm like, I'm so dead.
Well, I'm glad they didn't. Now, Buffy's beloved by fans for so many reasons, but I think one of those reasons is because it's a great ensemble. It's a great ensemble with lots of great characters, lots of great performances. Was it, for a show like that, when it is an ensemble, how much in your opinion, is the performance tied to chemistry between the different performers? And did you feel that the cast of Buffy had something special together? Yeah, I think we were all very brave because, like, usually on television, when you do one episode, you know what you're going to be asked to do for the rest of the series. It's all kind of a variation of the same thing every week, but with Buffy it was a very different thing all the time, and you never really knew what you were going to be asked to do or share or reveal or go through, and in that way it was a little bit terrifying. But like I like to say that the reason that Buffy is so well remembered primarily is the writing. The writing is the star of the show, and I like to say that the acting was good enough. However, the better the writing is, the better the acting has to be not to ruin the writing. And the best example of this is Shakespeare. The most painful thing I've ever experienced is badly performed Shakespeare. Do you guys know what I mean? Anybody? Horribly painful. And so, not even Shakespeare can withstand bad performance. And so, being that the writing was so good on Buffy, the acting actually had to be very tight, not to ruin it, right? And so, to come back to your question, good acting is really about listening
and reacting to the other person. And if you do that, that's how you get chemistry. And so we were all of the actors on Buffy were really very good. And we were all listening to each other. We were all reacting to each other. And I think that's why you get that chemistry.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. And of course, we here in Vancouver, we're very lucky. We have really great Shakespeare up here. Every summer we have Bard on the Beach, which does really great work. Thanks.
Some of the best plays I've ever seen were in Vancouver, actually. Because I used to live in Seattle, and I have friends here, and we would come up and see the theater here, and it just phenomenal. There was one, I forget the name of it. I think it was called the Saints play, and it was a deconstruction of Catholic saints. I mean, it sounds really weird and everything, but it was so good.
I love this story because you drove 3 hours from Seattle up to Vancouver to watch it. That's awesome. Yeah. That's great.
Well, for good theater, you go for a while, but like St. George, the dragon killer, was a jerk. He was like, I'm going to slaughter a mystery, you know? But yeah, for that play, it was a promenade play where to change scenes, you don't change the scenery, the audience walks from A to B. And this was a promenade out in the forest. So you'd be led along a path and suddenly someone would leap out of the foliage and start acting. And it was just very exciting. Yeah, really cool.
Thank you so much. Now, we ahead of time we had some pre-submitted questions and questions from our audience here. So I'm going to be interspersing some of them, including one of these from one of our audience members here wants to know, at the time, for your first episode on Buffy, you were stepping into a hit show, hit series.
Actually, no. When I came into Buffy, it was called a critical success with a small but loyal following, which is translated in Hollywood to about to get canceled. Yeah, so we weren't. Yeah, we didn't know if we were going to last, actually.
Oh man, I got that on my last job review. Oh man, that's horrible. But at the time when you go into an established show as a character that you know you're going to be around for at least 5 to 10 episodes, what was it like coming into a show that in theory has, again, an established chemistry, and you're now working to become part of that show's mythology, as it were?
I was just there to blow it all up. You know, like whatever you guys thought you were creating, I'm going to shatter it all. I'm just going to break it all apart, and I'm going to take a baseball bat to your television show. I'm saying, because that's punk rock.
Yeah.
So that was what I was all about. You know. So yeah, I disrespect everything.
And make
sorry, but that's Spike, you know. Yeah,
right.
So.
Be memorable in wanting to destroy the pillars, pulling this up. Now
that sounds horrible, doesn't it? That sounds terrible.
Maybe
but that's what it was.
But you know, of course, folks, James, Spike wasn't always just about wanting to destroy things. There was a softer, perhaps warmer side. And another question that we got is in regards to the fact that in 2008, the love scene between Buffy and Spike was named #1 on TV Guide magazine's list of the top 10 hottest scenes ever on television. Yes.
Is that where we literally brought the house down? Yeah.
That hottest scene beat out Kate and Sawyer from Lost and Meredith and Derek from Grey's Anatomy. Wow. First off, what does that honor mean to you? And if you can share, if there are kids here, apologies, do you remember anything from filming that particular scene?
Yeah. Wow. So, the reality of what's happening behind the scenes is often very, very different from what is shown on the screen. And I remember walking onto the set that day, and because the scene starts with a fight Buffy and I fight each other before we do the rest of it. And one of the gags was that Spike jumps up onto a chandelier, grabs it, and then lifts his feet up and double plants Buffy with both feet. Bam. And I wanted the gag. That's a great gag. And it didn't seem like a big deal to me, but the stunt coordinator said, I'm going to take that gag because it's actually very dangerous. I'm like, what? Why? And he said, well, we had to make the chandelier really, really heavy so that when Spike jumps on it, it doesn't swing very much and Spike will stay in frame. And I look at the chandelier and it's concentric circles down to a point. And he points up to it and he goes, look, if the chain breaks in the middle of your gag, your feet are going to be up and this whole thing is going to come down on you, and it's a point, James, so it's going to kill you. So I'm taking it. I'm like, you take it, you know. And what happened was on the second take, they got it on the first take, but then they had to take another one for safety? Yeah. Back when we were shooting in film, sometimes when they developed the film, they would mess up some of the film, so you had to have two of each. So digital is different now, but on the second time, the chain did break, and the point came down on Jeff's face. And they took Jeff to the hospital. There was blood everywhere. And Sarah and I shot that scene not knowing if Jeff was alive or dead.
Wow.
And right after it was the last scene of the day, and as soon as they said cut, the entire company, cast and crew, decamped to the hospital, and we just absolutely overwhelmed the hospital and waited until we knew what happened with Jeff. Now, Jeff was okay.
Good.
And Jeff is a maniac because he's a man. Yeah.
Wow.
That dude was back.
I'm glad it ended. I'm glad that story went that way.
Yeah, but I mean, like, his face was messed up, man. But he came back to work 2 months later, and Jeff was a very handsome man, and he still is. But he kept saying, like, it was like, Jeff, because he's got like scar, you know, his stitches and everything. And he's like, I'm like, are you sure you don't want to be working, man? He's like, yeah, I'm not supposed to show my face anyway. I'm good. Crazy. Yeah.
Do you? I know you keep in touch with a lot of your close castmates, but do you stay in contact with any of the stunt folks or behind the scenes folks from Buffy or any of your other projects? Ooh, it's a thing.
I am ashamed to say no.
As soon as you get off the stage, call him.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's wow.
Yeah.
I am in touch with a lot of the cast.
Right.
But I have not. Actually, I did meet the prop master for. I was doing a cop show. Lie to Me.
Yes.
And I had. Let's see. Long story now. Crap. I wrote a song called Katie for Ghost of the Robot. And it was all about I was dating all of these women that were not so healthy for me, and I had heard that if you want to date a healthy woman, find someone who had a good dad, right? And so I'm in the lunch line for Buffy, and I noticed that the prop lady has a big tattoo of dad on the back of her neck, and I'm like, okay, that's hot, you know. and so I kind of got a crush on her, but I don't date people that I work with, because if you don't marry them and live happily ever after, you break up, you don't really want to hang out with them anymore. But if you're working with them, you have to go work with them, and it gets uncomfortable, so I don't do that. And so I never dated Kate. But I told the story about the song, and so it was known that I had written it about this prop woman on the show. And this guy goes, hey man, you know that Katie? I'm married to her. Check this out. He pulls out a thing, and it was Katie just having given him his first son at the hospital. And he was just rubbing it in.
Now, music is a big part of your life. You've, of course, from your work in Buffy, you had a chance to show off your singing skills in Once More with Feeling. Big fan favorite show. Before that show, before that episode, did you ever get a chance to use your singing in film or TV? Probably, I'm assuming before then you used your singing on stage, but film and TV, before that episode, did you get a chance?
No. I'm like, when we did the musical for Buffy, nobody was doing musical television. I mean, there was one cop show that was all musical. Like, if you can believe, every episode was a musical on this show.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Bombed.
Yeah.
It was like half a season and got canceled. And so when we did Buffy, we're like, what are you guys doing? We're gonna get canceled. But so no. I was singing in clubs or bars when I was 13. I would only sing James Taylor songs because he was the best, and he is. And then I was a kind of adjacent to a band called the Vandals in high school. I played some songs with them, but I wasn't a member of the band. And so, yeah, music has always been in my life. And by the time we did the musical, I was already performing with Ghost of the Robot, so I was very comfortable singing for the musical. But,
Great.
Yeah, that was the first time on TV.
That's awesome. Now, other than, of course, your first episode or Once More with Feeling, do you have your own personal favorite episode of Buffy? And do you have one that's your own favorite that perhaps Spike is in? And do you have a favorite episode of the show in general? If they're both involve Spike, that's great. But
I think the best episode of Buffy is The Body. I'm not alone. Yeah, and I wasn't in it. And the reason that I love it so much is that it proved that it was such a strong show, dramatically speaking, that you could just strip away the vampires and the stunts and the special effects and the jokes and the music and just play a straight drama of a young woman who is losing her mother. And it works. It's just it's a phenomenal episode. And then my favorite episode that I was in as Spike is actually on Angel, where I kicked his ass on his own TV show. And I'm sorry, man. I love David. David and I get along great. Like, he's a great guy. David was the guy to show me where the bathrooms were on the set of Buffy on my first day. That's the kind of guy David is.
Awesome.
But Angel is a different thing. So yeah, so I got to, that was a sweet day. That was a very good day.
Very nice. Now, I wanted to touch upon some of your other work in your career. You have several villainous roles under your belt, including Brainiac on Smallville, which is awesome. You also played Victor Stein on Runaways. Do you find yourself in your career, are there certain character types that you find yourself gravitating to? Do you prefer the chaotic, darker, I'm here to just break things type characters, or do you like to mix things up?
It's weird because when I came to Los Angeles, the only thing I had on my it's called a reel, which is just a combination of the stuff you've done before, so that people can tell if you can act or not, you know. And so I had two things on my reel. One was a nerd that I played on Northern Exposure because they shot up in Seattle.
Yes.
And then the other was a heroin addict that I also shot in Seattle. But I don't know. I was doing guest spots as nerds when they called for Spike.
Right.
And if it wasn't for Spike, I probably would be known as the nerd. I don't. But now I'm known as the villain. But I'm kind of the jerk villain who will be there for you when you need it. I'm like the Han Solo guy.
I mean, and we need those in our lives. We truly do.
Yeah, I'll take that, you know. Yeah, I'll take that.
You of course mentioned, so Northern Exposure, was that your first TV booking? Was that, or one of the first?
That was the first. I actually did 2 roles on Northern Exposure. The first was a bellhop. The lead character, Joel, he is so lonely and he's out of town at a hotel, and I think that he just got broken up with or whatever, and his self-esteem is cratered, and he's super lonely, and he's so lonely that he tries to strike up a conversation with the bellhop, and the bellhop gives him the cold shoulder and doesn't have time for him. And so I was the bellhop.
Right.
And I remember I had all of my lines were monosyllabic lines like, yeah, okay, right, cool, like that. And I remember having an out-of-body experience, like when they called action, and I realized that lens, that represented about 20 million people. So that's 40 million eyeballs on you, and I was just like, oh my God. And if I'd had to say more than 1 or 2 syllables at a time, I don't know if I could have done it.
Right.
But it actually was a good scene. It worked.
Great. And
they liked me enough that when they had a larger role the next year, they called me back for that. And so I had 2.
That's awesome. That's great. It's always a joy and a treat. It's kind of similar when X-Files was filming up here, and there would be local actors who would show up in season 2 as a taxi driver and season 7 as a teacher. And local actors, we got to work.
Go local. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, earlier on, you mentioned that at the beginning of your career, you lovingly had a colleague, a mentor of sorts, tried to perhaps talk you out of becoming an actor. And Vancouver, Hollywood North, I'm sure we have lots of actors here in the crowd.
Yeah.
With your experience being in all sorts of different projects, some of our favorite shows, with your experience, do you have a piece of advice for newer actors who are starting out, or actors who have been on the grind for a while and are looking for something to help them keep going? It's a great job, but it's hard.
I can tell you what I think, but every actor gets in their own way. There's a million roads to Rome, so to speak. So this is just me. But I believe that every human being is beautiful enough and interesting enough to be stared at, every single one of us. The problem is that what I do is I don't realize that, and I try to be more interesting than I actually am, or I try to be cool, or I try to give the audience what I think they want, rather than just me. And what I've come to learn is that the audience is staring at me, not expecting me to be more interesting than they are, or more intelligent than they are. They just want to stare at somebody because it's rude. And if you stare and study someone in real life, you'll get into an argument with them. They're like, what are you staring at, man? But we actors, we give a big gift, and we say, I will allow you to do that, even though it makes me uncomfortable. I will allow you to study me. And so if you're giving that kind of gift to a group of people, the best thing you can do is be honest and just show them you in all of your gristly parts and all of your complexity, all of the parts you're proud of and all the parts you're ashamed of, and all of it. Let them see all of it. That's the gift. And in the moment of, if you lie to the audience, it's not such a good gift. And so it's a little mountain that I climb every time I'm in front of an audience, is just be yourself. I have to remind myself every time, you're good enough, man. You're good enough as you are. You don't have to put on airs.
Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you. Beautifully said. And thank you for letting us stare at you and enjoy you. Now, we have time for a few more quick questions. And our next question. Now, this next question, I am going to preface it and caveat it by saying you're, of course, only welcome to share as much as you can. But, of course, there is a new Buffy the Vampire Slayer show in the works, New Sunnydale. Is there any hope that maybe Spike may show up? Maybe. This is on the record here at Fan Expo Vancouver 2026.
Oh, yeah.
No recordings, except for that one light. That's probably a recording. No, it's fine, I'm sorry. Oh, no. But yeah.
I think what I can say is that I would be extremely surprised if they don't call. And if they call, I will come, and I will be ready. And I am doing so many sit-ups so that I can do the stunts. But if I was producing the show, I wouldn't call me until season 2, because they only have 8 to 10 episodes now per season, and the first thing they have to do is tell the origin story for their new Slayer. Because I think they're doing it right. We are finally making good on the promise that we made in every episode. For every generation, there's a Slayer. There's a new Slayer. And so there's a new Slayer. And they have to tell the origin story of that Slayer. And they have to introduce her new Scooby Gang. And most importantly, they have to get them into at least one adventure together before they drop in any other characters, whether they're new original characters, or me, or Drusilla, or whoever else. And so I wouldn't do that until season 2. And I'm not like super intelligent. I'm just saying what's normally done. Right. And I think that's probably they're not stupid. So I think if they're going to call, it would be season 2, and I think they're probably going to call.
All right.
But,
we would love that.
Just watch the show so they get a season 2, so that we can have Spike back.
Yeah. That's awesome. Perfect. Well, James, thank you so much for joining us here on stage. Now, folks, in a moment, what we're actually going to do is we are going to take a group photo with James here on stage, and we're going to have everybody to come closer a little bit forward as we do have our photographer.